All right, ladies and gentlemen, you might wonder, why are we putting Meredith Kessler on our show today? Well, when I tell you about her record, I think you're going to understand it because, we're all fighting Father Time and no one has yet been able to win. But if there's anybody that I know who's fighting Father Time and is winning at least a little bit, it's my friend Meredith Kessler. A little bit of background. Uh, my wife and I both know Meredith. She works out at the gym where we are. She's sort of the superstar in the gym, although I think that no one is ever a prophet in their own home. She has a lot of fun. She has people that will train with her. She kills about all of them. But yet, I think, nevertheless, I am not sure that people know how amazing this woman is. First of all, let me tell you a little bit about her, and I'll have to read a little bit of this stuff. She was a multi-sport athlete. She competed in four sports before earning a Division I scholarship to Syracuse. When she graduated, she used her graduation money to purchase her first triathlon bike. Now, let me just kind of tell you, she is a 11-time full Ironman champion, including multiple wins at iconic races. 11 times full Ironman. Ready for this one? 23-time half Ironman champion. Now, this is the one my wife always talks about. 5 consecutive victories at Ironman New Zealand. Is that unbelievable? 5 times winning Ironman New Zealand 2012 to 2016. Multiple wins at Ironman Arizona, including 3 consecutive titles. She finished third at the 2011. I don't know what this is, the ITU Long Distance Triathlon World Championship, but she was named in 2014 USA Triathlon's non-drafting athlete of the year. I mean, I mean, she competed in 60 full Ironman races globally, and she was voted by fans as one of the greatest American triathletes of all time in an Ironman poll. So we talk a lot about some of the people that come in the gym. Oh, we've got Chris Perry, so he was a professional golfer. I mean, there are other people and they're bragging about what they did in high school or in college. Meredith is a full-fledged superstar. She is the Michael Jordan of this triathlon, and she just stopped competing. We'll have her talk about that. But Meredith, what's so interesting is I knew of your greatness. I see you in the gym. You've taught me things about continuing to go. But just looking at this record, so the young man that helps me with Substack, I told him I want to get Meredith's entire record. And this morning I said, "Well, what do you think?" And he's like, "Are you kidding me?" So the first thing is, how did you get into this? Why? Tell us what. First of all, tell us what an Ironman triathlete has to do.
You got it. So first, thank you so much for having me. The Ironman world is a crazy world. So I will say there's a triathlon, and most people talk about the Olympic distance triathlon, which is much shorter. It's give or take a 2 hour race. It's a mile swim and 25 miles on the bike, and then a 6.2 mile run. That's a normal triathlon. I've done two of those. Okay. The reason that's funny is because an Ironman distance is a 2.4 mile swim. For me, that's anywhere from 47 minutes to 55 minutes, depending on the chop. It's a 112 mile bike, which for me is, I think I've done maybe 440 before, 4 hours, 40 minutes, and up to 510 if it's windy and hilly and you just don't know. And then a marathon, 26.2 mile run. So I unfortunately never broke the 3 hour barrier. I always was like 30X in my prime years. But how I got there was I graduated in 2000. I was 21. I had been an athlete my entire life. And at 21, I literally had a midlife crisis. And I was like, wait a second, no more sport. I don't even know what to do with myself. And so that's when, as you said, I used my college graduation money, bought a bike, which I still have today. That was 26 years ago. And I plopped myself in an Ironman to that distance. So I didn't start with that little Olympic distance. I started with a full Ironman distance, being ignorant as ever. And I threw myself in one, and I still laugh about that because my swim and run times aren't that much off, but my bike time was like 8 hours because because I've never been on a bike. I'd never been clipped in. aero bars. And what's funny is I did that entire 112 miles. You'll really laugh at this one, in running shorts. I did not understand spandex. I didn't know what any of that was about. So I caught the bug there, the Ironman bug, and I just finished. I just completed my 76th
So,
full
so
Ironman.
when you finished the first one,
Yeah,
did you say, "Oh, this is
yeah,
great. I'm going to do
yeah.
the next one"? I mean, what went through your mind when you finished that one?
Well, I was in fetal position. I needed like McDonald's French fries immediately. What is funny about what you just said is all eight. I wish I could tell you I've finished 81 Ironmans. I've finished 76. I've DNF'd, did not finish five. Uh, Passed out or crashed in those. I will always finish a race that I start if I can physically move forward. With that said, um, no, I say at every one of them that I'm never doing this again. But that's what every Ironman athlete says. And then they think about it and they think about it and then ask them like the next day even, and they're like, yeah, I can do that again. Because what it is they remember that they finished something they actually thought was impossible in the moment. And I can't tell you how many Ironmans. And trust me, I've walked the Queen K in Kona more times than I care to admit. But I'm so glad I finished, because the next day I woke up without, regret.
So, Meredith, let's go through the Ironman one more time. Let's
Yeah.
again, it's a 102-mile bike,
112. That's a big
112.
difference. Yeah.
Okay,
Because
so
you want it
what
to be 100. You're like, isn't 100 enough?
okay, what's the first stage? Is it the
Swim. You have
what's
to swim.
first? Okay, so you
2.4 mile swim. Yeah.
2.4 miles. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that's tough for most people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're in the water
Mm-hmm.
and you have to pace yourself. In other words, you know, when you go running, you sometimes a lot of people run marathons, they start off too fast, right? And then
Right.
they burn out. How about the swim?
Right.
How do you pace yourself in the swim?
Sure. Well, of the three sports that you do, swimming is the only one you can draft in. And when I say draft, you can sit behind someone and catch a draft while they're kicking. And literally in the bike, you get a penalty if you do that. And in the run, you can do it, but everyone's so spread out usually by them. But in the swim, you can literally sit behind someone, and you should be smart and get behind someone who's just a little bit faster than you, and then just sit in and take the easy way out. I never did that, but I'm a swimmer. That's my core competency. And I didn't like to do that because I felt like I was cheating. Not even though I wasn't, I felt like I wasn't doing.
Well,
I'd
but
rather
did you
do
ever
that.
like look behind you and say, "Hey, get out of here. You can't be." Did you ever
Here's so funny. If they touch my
Did they
feet,
ever touch your feet?
one girl touched my feet every stroke for that was a half Ironman, thank goodness. And I finally stopped. I'm very nice, and I'm like, could you not do that? That's like the biggest no-no in sport. There's two no-nos in the swim: is don't touch someone's feet every stroke. And then a lot of us had bonuses from our wetsuit sponsor if we were first out of the water of the race. You could be a
Oh,
terrible, yeah. And so the worst thing to do is what I just told you: sit in beside someone, and then the last, you see the finish line where you go up the stairs out of the water, and the worst is when someone would just pass you and get the bonus. You know what I mean?
so
Um,
yeah, so let's stop on that because
yeah,
that's something people don't think about. So as a
yeah,
professional, you got
yeah,
paid and you got monitored all the time. So
yeah.
you wanted to be the first out of the water. Is that right?
Right. If you had that in your contract, well, you wanted to anyway, but then most of us swimmers had a wetsuit sponsor. Mine was Roca. I had it for years, and I would get a bonus, first out of the water. And also the Ironman, the actual race, would give the person, whoever got first out of the water, would also get a bonus from them. So then you're like, all right, well, I haven't even, I'm only a quarter through this race and I've already made some money, right?
Now, so
Yeah.
then when you are do you feel a lot of pressure then to come out of the water first, for example?
Yes and no. I think because I was labeled a swimmer, I would feel that a little bit. And honestly, my biggest thing, probably my biggest accolade, was being first out of the water in Kona. And that was great. I got a great bonus, but guess what? I walked the Queen K. I finished,
Okay,
but it was one of my worst races. So saltwater and I don't mix, but I
right.
somehow was first out of the water. And so, but I'm not kidding. I think I finished almost like 26th place. I walked the Queen K. I did it 4 hours slower. So again, those were my low moments in the 26 years of Ironman racing. But yeah, it's a constant science. People don't realize, Gov, in this sport that they're like, wait, you get paid to like work out all day. People don't know it's an actual sport. I mean, we're paid by
It's a
sponsors like
job.
it's
It's
a
a
job.
job.
It's Red Bull, and I mean Red Bull, Cliff Bar, Saucony, those were sponsors. So you're getting money from Ironman, but then you've got 10, 12 sponsors paying you. If you Aaron went to Harvard, my husband. He quit his job and was my agent for 15 years. And we traveled the world together, and he managed all of that for me. And people understandably don't realize it. And then a bunch of us started the PTO, Professional Triathlon Organization. That's like the NBA and the NFL on a much lower level, of course. And it's fun now for people like us. We laugh because we're like, wait, when we were pregnant, we didn't get $100,000 hold on our, but we've set the future up for
All
success.
right, so you're so articulate. It's just you're always articulate, but this particularly you're so good at this. Secondly, and we'll get to the we're going to get to the bike in a second,
Yeah.
but let's
Yeah.
just talk about the swimming because you're in the pool now, and I
Yeah.
see you in the pool. And I was talking to a guy today who said whenever she's in the pool, I try never to get in. Of course, that doesn't bother me because I know I can't compete. But what do you try to do these days, having been retired? What
Sure.
is the motivation? How far do you swim? What's behind it?
So anyone who knows me, even growing up a swimmer, again, I almost swam in college, but I realized it was too individual, which is funny given I was a triathlete later, but I wanted to be part of a team, right? So I did not swim, but I never, all through college, I actually got in trouble from my field hockey coaches for like swimming an hour and a half. But my coach I had for 20 years, let's say, he told me, like he even put on my schedule what we call MBK swims. And so like, for example, in the bubble that you and I both swim in, I will do like literally 5K. So that's 40 times 5. That's 200 laps up or lengths of the pool up and back straight. That's my therapy. So
And
here,
how long? How long does it take you, Meredith?
an hour and 10 minutes, let's say. Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, and I've always done that. Even in high school, I would do that. I'd
Right.
drive back then it was the Westerville Athletic Club. I'd drive there, I'd swim my 5K, and I'd be at high school by 8:02 or whatever that is. It's my therapy, it's my thinking time, it's where I plan my life and my day in all stages of my life. Yeah. And
So
I don't pay
you're always gonna do that. So that's a given.
always.
Okay.
And it's
Okay.
the most, it's like your yoga, it's like my yoga, it's my
Yeah.
recovery. Yeah.
Okay. So let's go into the bike. So the bike's
Sure.
112.
112.
Okay. So how much do you, I mean, how do you, I know it's going 112 miles. That's
Yeah.
a big deal, but you have to do it in a competition, right? So you're
Right.
always looking at the watch, or how do you do that? How do
Yeah,
you pace
sure.
yourself there?
Sure. Well, you don't want to overcook yourself, right? So speaking of you're at mile 50 and you're like, dude, I have so much far. That's the thing in an Ironman. You can't think about how much farther you have or it's over. But the only thing I really cared about was knowing how much further, because that you take it in stages. You're like 30 miles, 30 miles, 30 miles, then you're at 90. Well, you still got 22 more. That's like another hour. So you have to be in the right mindset. And you look at watts. I like looking at watts. So because in training, everything revolves in the training I do, everything revolves around paces and watts. And what's funny, I care about paces and watts in the moment so much. And then I never care about it again. I don't look back. I only like look forward with that. A lot of people overanalyze data. I don't. So, but in the moment, I like, for example, I wanted to go 220 watts for 4 hours and 40 minutes. And I try to hover around that. And that was my focus. And it gives you something to do. You set your watch every 20 minutes to beep so that you remind yourself to eat. It's such a science, Gov, because you have to know I'm 130 pounds. I need 250 calories per hour and 90 grams of carbs. That's constant thinking. You're like a bartender on your bike. You're eating, you're drinking,
Well,
rolling buffet.
talk a little bit about that. Okay, I
Yeah.
like that. You're a
Yeah.
bartender on your bike.
Yeah.
So how do you pack your bike, and what are
Sure.
you eating on that bike?
Yeah, you pack. So the way that I work, I can't chew. Like I can some people have like PB&Js in their back pockets and eating Snickers bars. I have a hard time like eating like real food. I'm like in a racing mode. So I do a lot of like the blocks. There was Cliff blocks there. And sometimes when I'm in New Zealand, their sugar there is a lot better than American sugar. So I'll go get their lollies, which are our equivalent to like Starburst or gummy bears. Those are great because they're quick sugar. But
Wow.
it'll make you sick, but I have about 3 gels an hour, which is about 280 calories. And it's sick. You just have to like you just have to do it or else you're going to die. And then you have this water bottle in between your bars with a straw like right at your mouth.
Yeah.
A lot of people can stop and like grab the bottle and drink it. No, I need the straw right in my face. So that's a job in itself. It's swim, bike, run, nutrition, and recovery is the other pillar of performance for triathlon racing.
Okay, let's talk about the running now.
Oh yeah,
And by the way, if somebody wants this, well, let's finish this,
yeah,
and I want to if somebody wants to start doing this,
sure,
let's talk about the running.
yeah,
So you guys, and you have a little team. Well, you have a little team that does everything. You have a little team that swims with you now. You have a
yeah,
little team that I
yeah.
never see you biking. I never see that, but I see you
No,
running quite a bit.
yeah,
So you
yeah.
run with a couple with a group, right?
I run with some gals at the club, and yeah, I have my people. You have training partners
Yes.
because other
Like
people.
Dr. Nikki, she's
Dr.
one of your
Nikki,
trainers. Yeah.
she's my Friday gal. And but I did want to say, and we'll put a pin in this, that the reason you don't see me biking is because even when I lived in California for 20 years, I do 90% of my training indoors on a platform that's virtual. So I'm riding with people in Sweden and even during COVID, we raced virtually, like meaning for money. We were racing on what's called Zwift, and it is an amazing. And I teach on a current platform called Velocity. I mean, the indoor world is great because guess what? I've also lost a lot of training partners getting hit by cars. And once I became a mom too, the risk was more than the reward. So, but usually in Ironman races, the roads are closed. That doesn't mean people don't crash, but it's safer in a race
So the
than.
Peloton, as you know, my
Yeah,
wife uses the
yeah,
Peloton all the time, and it's the hottest
yes,
thing going. My daughter
yes.
does too. But the Peloton, do you like that?
I do like that. I don't do it. See, I'm on that same type of thing, a smart
Right.
trainer, but instead of a Peloton, I'm on my actual bike that is hooked up to a smart
Oh,
trainer.
okay.
Yeah,
It's your
that's why it
bike.
works for us. But for Peloton
And
people,
does it work? What you do, does it work? I mean, you use your bike, it's hooked up, and
yeah.
is it real?
So I'm an avatar in a video game. Like it is crazy. Like, and you have races in this video game and you see your watts, you see the speed, and you're racing literally like you're outside, but just indoor. I was on a team for 5 years probably, and we'd race every like Tuesday, Thursday, and we'd race together against other people in England, all over the world. It's literally the best thing ever because it's safe, it's controlled. You've got your fan going. You can work on your race nutrition. I mean, it's an unbelievable platform. Yeah.
Now, do you still do that?
I do. I take my coach's class Tuesday, Thursday, and then I teach on it as well. And then I pop on Zwift all the time also. Yes, I will
So,
always do it.
so
Yeah.
you have then students that you teach
Yeah.
all over the world.
Yes, they can log in from anywhere. And so it looks like this. Like pretend what you're looking at right now, I'm on a bike.
Right,
Except I would under my name right now and under your name, you would see all your data, what watts you're doing, what your heart
right,
rate is. The coach
right.
sees that. The other people in the class, unless you're friends with them, don't see your data. So it's great. And it's like a community. It's a community.
That's and you're going to do that for a long time too.
Yes, I'm about to say, like, I feel like I could have a standing Sunday class and like you can
Right.
always move, and then the athletes like, coach, we have a little class, stuff like that.
Okay, and then so let's talk about the run. I did have one more question
Yeah.
about the bike. Let me think what that is. I mean, that's just something that I think most people would not know how that whole biking. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
So when you train these people in other parts of the world, when
Mhm.
they meet you, because at
Mhm.
some point as you're traveling around doing
Mhm.
these things, right,
Mhm.
you've met people that you only knew virtually. What was a meeting like that like?
Oh, I mean, there's athletes I currently coach that I've never met in person ever. because there's an app called Marco Polo, Gum, and you're on this app. And it's like so it's an app you go to. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's an app you go to on your own time. So my athletes in New Zealand or Australia or wherever, even if they're on the West Coast, it's a 3 hour difference from me. And you go to the app and you can be like this with your phone and be on camera, or you can just put it on voice and you're driving and you're like, hey, Meredith, they'll be like, Meredith, I just want to tell you about my workout today, and they'll tell me about it. And then when I get that message, I go to the platform and leave them an answer back. It's like, shoot, I'm also on it with 7 of my best friends from since I was 3 and my college friends. Like, it's a way to keep in touch and keep that community. So I don't feel ever out of the loop, and I feel like I've met them because I've been like this with them a lot. Yeah.
But how about when you met them in person after a long time of virtual? What was it like to have them see you? They give you a big hug. What was it? What's it
Yeah,
like?
big hug, and we pick up right where we left off. I'm like, I just talked to you yesterday on Marco Polo. It's good to see you live. That's it.
And
Right.
okay, let's talk about the run.
Okay.
So,
The savage
is
hardest
that
part
is
is
that is that's the toughest part for you?
for everyone. Here's why. You've just done 2.4 mile swim, and you get off that bike after, 5 hours on the bike, and then you need to run 26.2 miles. And you have to say to yourself, there's Ironman is 70% mental. Sure, you have to be fit and ready, but it's all, if your upstairs doesn't match your downstairs, the race is over. And so I know in my head that I have at least a 3 hour time of running, right? And you have to be in the mindset that it will settle. It will settle. And the first 2 miles are awful. Calories, hydration, nutrition, rolling buffet. And then it settles. And you're like, if I could just stay like this for like the next 24 miles. But then you hit a low pocket. You're like, you might hit a low pocket at mile 10, and it stays for like 10 miles. And then you pivot. You're like, I need this nutrition. I need this salt. And you're constantly solving puzzles in your head when you're on that marathon. And I've seen the amount of just explosions I've seen on the run, and it's a game of attrition at that point. There's Let me give you an example. The 2 top women that were winning Kona this year, okay, 2025 in October, winning. They're amazing athletes, okay? They were winning first and second, and at mile 17 and mile 22 or 24, as in 2 miles to go, they both quit. They stopped. Their brain was out of their body. They were so dehydrated, electrolytes. They stopped. And the girl that was in third, she won Kona. Good on her. Remember, it was a rule of attrition at that last. So I've been in a race. I've passed out at 4 miles to go. 4 miles. Like, you could walk 4 miles and finish. Passed out, woke up in the hospital. Like, it sounds like a great sport, right? But when you get it right, you get it right. And let me express to you, it used to be probably even 10 years ago, breaking 3 hours in the marathon part of an Ironman was insane. It was like, if you broke 3 hours, that was the new black. Guess what the new black is now? Girls are running 2:38. 2:38. It's incredible, like, where the sport's going and how much faster the girls are getting.
Why? Why?
They're just getting it right. The science is better, nutrition is better, the ideology around what works for Susie and what works for Betty, and all the testing that people do for lactate testing and what people need. I mean, we get drug tested all the time. Obviously, I'm retired, not anymore, but it's not that people aren't. I'm sure some people aren't doping, but like, it's like they are, because they're crushing it. And I think people are just learning it more, learning the sport. But the sport's been around. I think Kona was the first Ironman. I think it's been 45 years.
So Meredith, you
Yeah,
and I had talked occasionally
sure.
about the day that would come when you
Yeah,
would retire.
yeah,
And and I told you that I'd been through moments, when I left whatever it was, not to retire, but to leave it
sure.
and move on to something else,
Right.
that's a process.
It is.
So how did you finally decide, okay, I've had enough. I want you to tell
Yeah,
us about all the sponsors you put on your
yeah.
suit and everything else.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
then how did you feel after?
Yeah. I knew I needed to have a final race. Not many people do what I did. Not saying what I did was riveting. Not many people.
Oh, no, no, no. Stop
No.
right there. It was unbelievable. So go ahead.
Well, thank you. Not many people, especially I'm 47 and I was already the oldest. I've been the oldest, one of the oldest on the race course for probably the better part of 5 years. Honestly, my prime was 33 to like 41. And then I had my second kid at 44 and I was all right for like another like maybe year. And then it was just like a slow trickle down the mountain because I don't know if life happens. I think what happens is it was easier to race also when my kids were babies. Honestly, I raced an Ironman 4 months postpartum with both of my kids, 4 months, and I had two C-sections, and I felt great in those. Compared fast forward to even my recent one, I was like, it was so much easier when they were babies. Here's why. Now I actually have to parent as well, and most people would probably be like, well, yeah, people do that all the time. They go to the office and work, they still have to parent. Yeah. But at 45, 46, 47 years old, when you're trying to train 20, 25 hours a week, it can accumulate. And yes, age is just a number. Yes, yes, yes. But at the same time, you also can't defy science as well. And the risk too, what I just said about the risk is more than the reward. And honestly, financially, I want to bring home more bacon for my family. And I realized that it might be time to hang the cleats up. My contracts were all up this December that I've had for 20 years. And it came to me. I said, I want to know what my last race is. It was fortuitous because Ironman Arizona was my first pro race 20 years ago. I made it my last pro race, and that was the last running of that race ever in Tempe, Arizona. So it was meant to be. And get this, I went to go check in for my race number. This was going to be my 76th Ironman finish. And without anyone doing anything, my number was 76.
Meredith,
Right?
I don't want to get into the details of this, but was it lucrative at any point?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I told you,
Okay.
it was great. My husband quit his job. We lived in Northern California paying 6 grand a month in rent. Now, had I been that person, that athlete that at the time was ranked number one, I would have been a lot richer. Like, say it was like now because we
Yeah.
started the PTO.
Oh,
If
it's
you're
like,
ranked,
oh, no, it's everything, right? It's
you
just
get
look at
a
athletes today,
$200,000
baseball
bonus.
players,
Yeah.
golfers, all of them. Yes.
But let
And,
me tell
but
you
I'll,
though, this will
yeah.
help you. When you win a race, you at that time you would get 25,000 from Ironman, and then say each of your sponsors for the win. All my contracts, I decided to do 1 through 3. Getting fourth was awful, by the way, and I got fourth plenty of times. But then you're getting a bonus from say 10, 12 sponsors of say 5, 6, 7, 8,000, whatever. So if you won a race, it was a long 9 hours, but you would get 60, $70,000 just for that one race. And I was trying to do that. I remember I was going through a stressful time in my life, and we won 8 times that year. It's my coach used to tell me, and you who know me would understand this. He said if I didn't have adversity leading up to a race, he would want to buy me a puppy and shoot it right in front of me before the race so that I'd perform. I do better under duress sometimes, but in any event, it was lucrative, and now it's dwindled out of lucrativity, and so it was time.
No, but now you have other activities. So whether you're
Oh,
teaching,
yeah.
you're going to have this big event where you're going to be the last. Tell us a little bit about that, what that is going to
I
be.
just did that yesterday, Gav. It was the surrender to lead. Okay, so the CEO and the chief strategic officer of Culture Partners, based out of the Bay Area, they wrote a book called Surrender to Lead, and it's actually quite cool and it's a book I'm going to get for you to read as a leader, and leaders need leaders, right? Is that it's about how leaders can let go. And as soon as they let go, things all shimmy into place sometimes. Anyway, they did a whole summit yesterday. It was from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. And it was CEOs from all over the world speaking. Billy Beane led it off, which was incredible. The former general manager of the Oakland A's. And
Oh
then you
yeah,
had
we
all
know who
these
he is. Yep.
business gents. And then they brought me in at the end, and I was the fluff. I was to talk about mindset and, if we don't fail, if we don't lose, what's going to drive us to be better. And to your point about retiring, I think that I'm learning the relevance isn't what I did. It's about who and what I become next and where I can make a deeper impact. So that's what I'm working on, is going from success to significance. And Surrender to Lead talks a lot about that as well.
So I'm actually doing a little coaching these days. I don't really talk much about it because it's done in strictest confidence. But, I think something you said there, which is letting go,
Mm-hmm.
actually allows you to do better than
Mm-hmm.
holding on.
Right.
And that takes into account like those two sweet kids you have, what's
Mm-hmm.
important, your husband, your friends. You
Mm-hmm.
need to get out of your own way sometimes and get out of
Yeah.
your own ego. And you need to just realize, the time's going to go on. The things are going to be fine. What you think you need to have is not what you necessarily need to have. And if you still want to get it, how do you get it without pushing yourself over a cliff? And it's
Right.
really interesting because, I've been through all that over the course of
Right.
my career, pressure and so many
Right.
different things. But so what do you learn? What did you think you learned? I was on the treadmill
Mm-hmm.
and I had it up pretty high and I was walking and I think, no, I'm going to quit here after 25 minutes. I'm not going to 30. And then I think, uh-oh, Meredith told me and talk a little bit about because it affected me.
Yeah.
It's something I've thought about. What did
Mhm.
you say about that?
So there's 6 words that I really have had. There's nothing sexy or again riveting about these words, but they've been like kind of since I was probably maybe 12 years old. They've been on my alarm clock, on my refrigerator, where I brush my teeth, and they're just very simple. It's remember what you feel like after. I've never regretted a workout that I didn't start. And it's okay if you get in the workout. Like, say you got in that workout today, and after 24 minutes, you're like, I've been doing this for 24 minutes at a high speed. I can't do anymore. Well, in that case, my mindset would be no, but you were going to do 30 minutes. So just put the power down and finish the time.
Right.
Remember what you feel like after, not only physically, but
I
also
like
emotionally.
that.
Like you
Yeah.
finished what you started, what you said you were going to do. I'm that person, I'm that mom, that wife, that friend that if I tell you I'm going to be somewhere at 3 o'clock to support you for something, I'm there. But you remember what you feel like after. And those words have so much meaning, not just for a workout, but just for when I walk the Queen K. I remembered what I feel like the next day that I didn't quit because it would have been so much easier just to walk off the course and get in the car and go back to the hotel room. It would have been way easier emotionally too, and physically certainly. But no, you can't. You have to, keep going. As long as you can move forward, you got to keep going. Yeah.
What are you trying to teach those little boys?
Yeah. I think it's important for them to always, I don't think, after every race since I had them, it used to be just Mac, but after every race, I wrote them a letter. And any fan will say, have you kept these letters in a book? And I haven't, but thank God for Instagram because they're all on there. So I'm going to have to do that someday. But I write them, my race report is a letter to them because as you know, we always had to write a post race
Right.
reflection. And I wrote them a letter every time. And a lot of times it talks about my main things are success can happen if we never give up. Never let success get to your head, nor failures to your heart, right? That's always like the best one. And just because we lose doesn't mean we lost and that we're lost. You know what I mean? We're not lost. If anything, we're going to grow and we're going to prevail and we're going to come out on the other side with gusto. So I'm constantly thinking about those things. I want them to become better versions of themselves. And the other day, Mac, my 8-year-old, they lost the basketball game and he stomped off the field and I could see the quivering lip and I wasn't going to give it to him. They say, and this is true, the most important time with your kid is the car ride home and the look in the rearview mirror. And I was like,
Huh.
tell me how you're feeling. And I listened to him and we lost. And I was like, Mac, if we don't fail, if we don't lose, what is going to drive us to be better? Now, as a team, what you guys have to do to be better. And I'm constantly teaching them that. I mean, they're 8 and 3. I got a long ways to go.
Yeah. Well, you're doing great. Listen, this has been enjoyable. And I know I want to do a shout out to all of your friends and your training partners that are there in the gym and your special friend Chad who's always working with
Yeah.
you. They're all
Yes.
really good people and I see how you motivate them all And you're just a blessing to all of them. And so we all love you, Meredith, and I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you for having me. And just always remember that you can't be your best self until you have found your tribe. And those people that you just spoke of, yourself included, are so thankfully a part of mine. So thank you for that luxury.
All right, superstar. We'll see you in the gym.
You
Take
got it.
care.